What's going on, guys? And we are back here again with another episode of the Gloves Off podcast. We're take. I don't know how else to say it. Usually I have a pretty witty intro, but I'm just gonna keep it real with you guys. I'm an incredibly transparent person. It's been a long week since our last episode. I was hoping to come on today to talk about, this new patch that just dropped. All these character changes, so on and so forth. Talk about fun stuff, and that has its time and its place, but as does the other stuff that we're talking about. So, it's been an exhausting week. But first I'm going to bring in the rest of our fun panel today. We are minus Hazmat today. Dog's feeling a little under the weather, and I know he wasn't feeling too great last week either. So I hope he's doing well. But we got the two men with the hair, one of which coming from Connecticut, Mr. Ajax HQ. What's up, man? How are you?
Been better is the light way to put it. As you already kind of pointed out, this week has been something else. Especially after a month of everything we've been going through. This year in general, 2020, just like it just seems like no matter what, we can't escape something that is even worse every single month. And now we've come across an impasse within our own community that we need to address. It needs to be addressed and needs to be talked about with everything going on. We'll finish introductions, obviously, but we got something definitely that we need to talk about today.
Yeah, I hope you're hanging in there on this Bobby Bonilla day as a Mets fan. So,
oh my God, all right. Why'd you have to throw that at me?
Yeah, for all the five people I watched this,
greatest business decision ever made. $1.9 million until he's 72. That's crazy.
Yeah, for another 14 years, but 15 years, regardless.
Yeah.
Moving along, the man that makes the magic happen, Mr. Chris ZX. How are you?
I've been better. I've been worse. I think I was worse yesterday. But, each day, one day at a time, man. I think you say this a lot, Koopa. Life comes at you fast. Well, it does. Mm-hmm. Life totally comes at you fast. And, with everything going on, I think first and foremost, I just want to say that where this podcast goes today, because I think it's really important to specify that now. Definitely, with everything going on and do your own research. Twitter is a place that has all the information that you want to follow, and sometimes that information gets blown up and you see it and you can't deny it, and that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing a lot of things basically, I want to say purging is the word. So there's a big purge going on, involves some people specifically and things like that. We're not here to give specific opinions about that. We're not telling you how to think. We're not basically looking to push any particular agenda. We're mostly just sort of looking to outline what's going on and maybe reframe it in a way that we grow from, because with every, night is always darkest before dawn, which is a really corny thing to say, but it's true, man. There's going to be a lot of bad things that come out before good things come out, and this is a podcast where we've always been talking about change, so that's really my disclaimer on the episode.
Yeah, again, there's content warnings here again if you've been familiar with what's been going on, on not even just the Smashscape, across the esportscape for the last 2 weeks. You will understand that there is a lot of bad stuff that's coming to the surface. We didn't stream last week in consolidation with the Twitch blackout. We're not streaming again this week, just for it's a lot to talk about just for us to focus on. But last week a lot of Twitch broadcasters stood in solidarity with all these brave women and and men. Also, there were men that came forward as well with sexual assault allegations within the esports and Twitch community. And it's been very eye-opening. I guess I'll just start by, with that, because not obviously not to bury the lead here, but it's slowly been transitioning from, it's been coming out everywhere. All these brave, women and men and everybody coming out sharing their stories about what's going on, with their own personal experience, whether it be with sexual harassment, sexual assault, and we're my goal has always been to educate. I've always loved to, teach and be a better person tomorrow than I was today. And I think the important part about what we're going to talk about today is, like Chris said, doing your research, understanding, understanding the situation in which we're in and how do we better ourselves from this.
Yeah, where do we go, right? What now? And I think a lot of it is, how do we get here? Why does it feel this way? Why are things so bad? And the reality is, this is a culmination of things just sort of being, kind of pushed and kicked down the road because it's a lot of uncomfortable feelings. So when you get into the specifics of, who sexually assaulted who has groomed who, and all these really heavy topics that are emotionally draining, and they invoke every bit of emotion you could imagine, because a lot of times you're personally involved. It might be a friend of yours, it might be someone you look up to, it might be really be anything, your favorite player, whatever. And the reality is, though, is with this stuff coming out, it's kind of on us to use our reasoning and logic to sort of see the evidence that's out there, hear everything out in full, and then have an opinion. The problem is the opinions are going to run high, and people are going to maybe even talk very aggressively to one another, arguing one point or the other, the he says, she said thing that you already brought up. So I think with that, it's basically establishing a point to strive for. So assuming the community now is totally reworked, all COVID things aside, tournaments seem to be looked at entirely. We actually brought this up last week unironically about like the logistics of tournaments and how those suffer and there's oversaturation. Like that's just like a secondary problem to a really big primary problem here, where the motivation for a lot of things has been sex minded. And I think it's important to realize what the community at its core values really stands for versus like the stuff that has kind of held it captive or stagnant.
My thing that I always like to point out when it came to tournaments, I've been vocal about this all the time, is I always loved how welcoming the community was. The tournaments, everything is an escape from reality for a lot of people. I've seeing parents bring their kids to these events and seeing proud family members of their children at these things, and being able to feel like they're in a safe space and that everything around them was good. But just to put it bluntly, we need to do better. We need to do better. There are people who have been called out repeatedly throughout this whole thing. Multiple people in multiple communities. It's not just one. It's not just the Smash. It's not just the Smash community. It's like Koopa said. It's been coming out in esports. It happened with Skullgirls. It happened with multiple other things. But the bottom line is this: is affecting our community directly. And we saw just today one figurehead who, unfortunately, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I like 1 whole year ago. I told Koopa this. 1 whole year ago, I would not believe, because I had recently discussed things with Senpai herself, and I thought no fucking way would something like that be the case. And then we see the videos today. We see things like that. We see that there was no vocal response at all today. Active and everything, and it's like I know we weren't going to get into too much on all this stuff, but like seeing things like that, seeing things like Ace and other stuff, it's like we need to fucking do better. We cannot do this. We need to be there for our community members. We need to be there for these teenagers and these kids and these other people to feel like they have a goddamn safe space at our tournaments. And you cannot sit there and say, oh, proof every time somebody says something. You have to believe the victims, and like you said, you have to study evidence as well, and you have to make sure that you're making articulate, smart decisions. But also, it just goes to show that we need to do better. We have to be there for these kids. We have to be there for not just the kids, the adults, like everybody, men and women alike, have the right to just be able to go out to what was meant to be a great place for all of us in a gaming community that was meant to have fun as a way away from bills, life, and other stupid shit at home. And now we have to look at this. And I am disgusted and floored with how much stuff has come out. But I will say this. With COVID and everything, I saw TK saying it too. COVID kind of putting us at home, being online, being around all this stuff. It kind of gave everybody the opportunity to finally feel like, okay, now is the time. And I just hope that the people who came out and are receiving all the support are feeling good about it, because they deserve it. Don't attack, don't victim shame. Listen to their stories, and also make sure you listen to other stories too, to make sure that everything is true, because there are those who will come into these types of situations to manipulate somebody else too. And the main thing is that we're making sure that we listen to everybody. But things like what we have seen today over these past couple days, this is unfucking acceptable, and we cannot accept this anymore. We cannot let this be a thing. We need to do better. And I sure hope that post all of this, we really look at ourselves and find ways to do better. Because I know there's a lot of good community heads, figureheads, people like yourselves right here, RJ, Clipboards, Eduardo, and company. Like just the people I can think of off the top of my head who go like off the deep end to make sure everybody feels safe at these. And I'm still glad that I'm a part of this community through and through. But man, do we have a lot of shit to do.
Yeah.
And it still blows my mind seeing everything going on today. I'm disgusted.
No, I I I echo a lot of your sentiments, my friend. These last couple of days, I've spent a lot of time reading. It's a lot of information to take in, and people you know, have been asking, what can I do to be better? What can I do to, make my space, make this space better for, minors and women and stuff like that. And the big thing for me, you already touched on it a bit, AJ. You know, Number one is when somebody comes forward and confides in you in something, you believe them. Um, you know, you believe these victims. You listen. Empathy the lack of empathy I've seen on people
Yeah.
these last couple of days has been absolutely ridiculous. It's really blown my mind. I'm angry, I'm ashamed, especially, not to get into specifics, some of the stuff has been happening under, our own nose in our backyard, and I'm angry because I pride myself on being, the big brother figure. I want people to be able to come to me with these sort of things, and the stuff that I had no idea about, it makes me look internally to how I can do a better job. So, and this all goes into just way deeper seated problems, the way that things like, sex and such is taught in schools, the way that people are given these these views on whether on gender and religion and race and sexuality and all these things. It goes way deeper than than what we are, than what we can inform you on as just a couple of Joe Schmoes. But the important thing you can do is that show empathy, listen, um to make sure that the voice of those who are speaking up these last few days does not get lost. And I'm rambling a bit, and it's because I'm I'm angry.
No, it's fine.
I
think everybody's feels that same pain.
I think so too, and I think anger is a very natural feeling, and it's warranted here in every possible way, because you have some end where people have been betrayed, you have some end where people have been deceitful, you have some end where just things aren't right. And I do want to remind everybody, because just for the sake of, I guess, not echoing necessarily the same sentiment, but Koopa kind of mentioned this. This is happening everywhere. This is literally everywhere. And before it hit Smash, we mentioned this at the beginning of the episode. It was hitting Twitch with a whole blackout. It even caused all these crazy things. A lot of crazy things that we're getting to in a little bit with all the Dr. Disrespect stuff and all the mysterious him just being banned immediately. But the reality is there's a lot of energy in motion. There's a lot of things changing. There's a lot of just bad things that have been deeply rooted in communities everywhere being derooted. And I think it's going to lead to it can lead to a lot of positive change. And I think now is going to hurt the most because of all the things we're talking about. And it's good to be mad because it means you care. If you're mad, you care. And if you're mad, for me, it's you feel let down. And I really do think that there is, I want to reframe this in a way that I hope it resonates with people, because maybe, and this is good. It's good. This episode's going to release in a couple days. Hopefully, things pulling back the veil a little bit. But the thing is if you want better, you have to break down the bad, and I think that's sort of what's happening. And a lot of people were really upset when Smash tournaments went away in the first place, and then people were just like, oh, well, as long as you're following safety protocols and whatever. But now you're seeing something that has nothing to do with COVID or any safety protocols or anything like that. It's literally just the community figuring out how to run itself again. So I think this now introduces a better system of communicating and governing events. I think this introduces something we talked about last week, which is basically oversaturation of tournaments, because you're basically just opening up gateways for this to keep happening, and just not even like there's so many layers that this hits now in a logistical sense. And I think that all of that can't really happen until all of this stuff comes out first, because otherwise, what do you really know what to approach, how to approach, and where? You know, you got to figure out who's where and who's on what team. I think a lot of us who've been really pushing to just drive the scene forward, which is why Tri-State's been so good, because the state, Tri-State all uniformly pushes for this, and New England all uniformly pushes for like the betterment of the scene, and the people doing that recognize each other. There are going to be some bad names that come out, but those are the same names that weren't involved with this stuff. I know on a local level, like I've had direct competition in tournaments, but run by someone who has very questionable behavior, who is currently outed right now. I don't even need to mention it, because a lot of you guys who know about it are going to know exactly what I'm talking about. And a lot of you guys who don't, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that we're moving forward, and people like that, they start tournaments in a selfish place because they want their thing, and apparently they want to prey on kids. And then you have people who start tournaments because they just want to spread the good vibes and let people grow through a game that they really like, and find like a good center point to just sort of like have friends. You know, that's literally what we're all just working for, if you're working for the right thing.
Yeah, my big thing that I hope that we walk away from in all of this, we've talked about this before with all the other situations that we brought up before with the Black Lives Matter movement, with everything, during Pride Month, with not to get political again, but you already know how I feel about this stuff, the attacks on the trans community and everything, in school shootings and stuff. We can't become desensitized to this again. We can't let this moment not be a moment of strength and growth. We have to let this moment be a time where we take this and move forward in a way where we don't let this stuff continue to happen. And the only way we could do this is, like you said, unfortunately, the only way you see that the problem exists is to have the problem exposed. And it's good that the problem is being exposed, because even though it fucking hurts to see who's been involved, it's still better than just not knowing in the first place and letting it continue to happen. Because if we didn't have COVID, who's to say that all this would have even come out? Who's to say that we would have never known about this? Because a lot of people would have a lot of people might have just let the status quo continue, so to speak.
Absolutely, especially because we talked about this too with like all the the circuit, the Smash World Tour circuit basically comes to a close, and that just happened like right on time. And wouldn't you know that? I mean, that was the thing. There was a lot of excitement about that, and meanwhile, it just sort of like covered over a lot of valid concerns and a lot of things. Because when you start scaling up tournaments, things like this, these bad interactions that happen between, whether it be someone older and someone younger, or even just something that's not consensual, or even just uncomfortable, like women, like this is what happens. Like they get put in these situations thinking it's safe, but meanwhile everything's scaled up. And I think about it a lot too, because I think about how everybody wants to be sponsored by Nintendo, and they talk about like, why is the Nintendo jumped in. I think Nintendo probably does a little bit more research on this than you guys think, and I think the community has sort of shown itself in a lot of ways, in a way that isn't good or is aggressive to a point. Like if I'm Nintendo, I wouldn't want to claim or invest this either. So I do think that part of becoming a better community does bring in legit support, and I think that acknowledging that the community's ugly in a lot of ways, or just plain doesn't work together, or gets cutthroat, or gets sexually, very bad. Or inappropriate, rather, is something that this is just the surface being scratched, really.
It's one of those things where we talked about before with like being a grassroots community, no matter what, having a self-governed system it won't be perfect. And trying to call in something like Nintendo to sponsor this at the risk of their company having these things exposed, it's not necessarily a selfish thing on their part. They just know that there's a risk involved, and sure enough, now we're sitting here with somebody who just happened to be an ambassador, and now that has to get cleaned up, because that has to be taken care of accordingly. And thank fucking God it got found out. But my God, did nobody see that coming? And that's just the way things are with like a lot of this, is that people remain silent because it's hard to speak up about these things. It's hard to like step forward because it's uncomfortable. Like even before this, like just almost near throwing up a few times reading all this stuff. I didn't know how to speak on it because it was like, what do we even say? How do we regain hope?
Yeah,
but the key factor, but the key factor of it is, much like we've said the past topics, we got to keep reiterating it. It's not about staying silent. It's about speaking up, and it's about making sure that we continue to push these things forward so people will remember to not forget this, and that we continue to grow and not let it stay the same, because otherwise we've failed. And
Sure.
that's not just us, and that's the gaming community at large.
Right. And I want to go back to a point that you just harped on, is that, like, you know, it's so hard for these women, you know, and any victim of sexual assault to step forward. And a big reason of that is like what I went back to earlier, is how like the stigma and like how you know, these very dated you know, ideologies about like about women, you know, and about sex and stuff are taught to us, because the amount of just casual misogyny that I see on a daily basis on the internet is disgusting. And I'm just gonna I just need to go off for a second, because this is something, you know, I'm somebody who's, you know, I was raised by my parents to not be afraid of my feelings. And, you know, as I guess my way of expressing that is that, you know, I've always taken solace in the fact that, like, you know, people, you know, like to talk to me. And, you know, a big base of my friend group is women. You know, I'm around women a lot. I have an older sister, so I'm very in touch with, you know, with how women think and how women feel. And just I feel just terrible for, you know, and one of my friends in particular, I'm going to give a platform here, is Sleepy Kokiri. She's a really good friend of mine, and she's been a member of the Smash community for a long time. And she's been very outspoken this last week about, you know, how she's treated, you know, in private, how she's treated in her comment section by men, how there's a stigma against her because she, you know, and not just her, but women in general who take part in sex work and stuff like that, and the stigma against women in general, you know, in the community. You know, you're a clout chaser, you're a slut, you're this, you're that. It's just this is why this stuff gets swept under the rug so often, is because time and time again the ball has been dropped. And you like, it all goes back to what we said earlier. We need to do a better job at listening, at showing empathy, to, you know, to believe women, to believe victims of sexual assault, you know, to really just listen. And it all starts from the ground up. And you know, as the Smash community is something I've always taken great pride in. The last 6 years or however long I've been doing this has been something. It has given me things that I never would have had 6 years ago. It's given me friends for life. It's given me a great. It's. I've seen the country. I've made all these great friends. I've made some money doing it on the side, and it's been great. But I'm so. It's hard to take pride in something like this when you're
honestly no. It's
burning down.
Oh, I understand completely, man. Like the community. I was talking to my roommate Chavo about this earlier. Like 2017 was one of the best years of my life, after what was one of the worst stretches of my life. There was a while back where everybody was talking about you know, surviving suicide, and there was a point in time in my life where I had some very bad things going on in my own life, and having both martial arts and Smash helping pull me through that. Words can't describe what it means to me, but the pain of me wanting to succeed at being a part of the esports industry, to show my nieces, my godson, and everybody else that I can be something, I could do something with myself, to then see this shit, and see things like the messages that Kokiri got, which are fucking disgusting, and you guys need to fuck all off. But it's like, it's hard to take pride in that, but I agree, because the thing is, like we said, this bunch getting outed had to happen, and it's so the people around us could continue to grow in better ways. We will improve past this, because we refuse to let this stay the same. We were not going to let what we grew up with and things that helped us improve. And I've seen many stories of other people say the same thing, from Mr. R, from I believe I saw in the Cat 2, Void, other people all coming out saying this community has done so much for them. But everything in this world has a bad underbelly, and we are seeing ours being exposed heavily. And we will make sure as community leaders that we continue to reform, like Chris said, and find ways to prevent this from continuing, because if there's anything that this has done, it's banded people together in a way that we would never have had before, and we will make sure that we do better at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. I think just doing better altogether is paramount right now. I think that is the focus, and I do think, I'm going to say a final note for now. We could always come back to this in a little bit, but I do want to change the pace a little bit because, I don't want to harp too long, and this is what I'm getting at. So right now there's a lot of information coming out. If you're sharing it, if you're advocating for a friend that you know better, or things are personally connected, by all means share the information, chime in. But the things to avoid are actively just being argumentative, actively putting down one side or the other until you know the full details, and don't consider what someone specific said as full details. Like, I mean full details. And you'll have a better idea when the individual communities approach the individual case by case, because there are a lot of cases right now. And I will say this, and this is where I'll kind of the jump off point is, this is a problem that sort of came off of a larger problem that was sort of coming from Twitch. It resulted in Dr. Disrespect, a really big Twitch streamer who just re-signed a new Twitch deal and everything, that just totally get banned on the spot. No one knows for what yet. Dr. Disrespect says he doesn't know for what yet, and there hasn't really been a real statement outside of Dr. Disrespect and his wife. Was it his wife, Mr. Assassin or whatever, something like that? Kind of funny.
Like that. Yeah.
Basically, just thanking the community and sort of saying we're hanging in there. We appreciate the support. And then all while this is happening, all while that craziness is happening within Twitch, and bottom line, Twitch, cool platform for gaming, but there is bigger problems on Twitch that really need to be solved. And again, this is because Smash Twitter, that's all a subset of the larger things in Twitch. So this is why I think this is really relevant, because the reasons why Dr. Disrespect got canceled or basically taken off the platform indefinitely and so quickly, that now raises a lot of questions. Does this have to do with the sexual allegations? It's not guaranteed to. This could be anything else entirely, because simultaneously you have Mixer closing down, so now your other option of streaming is totally gone. So let's just say you are tired of Twitch. Now your options are Facebook or Twitch. Facebook being even worse because it perpetuates a lot of the bad things that happen on Twitch in terms of using your personal platform and being supported for whatever it is you're doing, whether it be good or bad, whether, I don't even have to get in detail into that. And you're seeing all these market shakeups, and there's a lot of potential things that could happen. But the bottom line is a lot of this toxicity you're seeing in gaming communities is finally being routed, and I hope it keeps getting routed. And I hope that people ultimately become decision-oriented. But for the meanwhile, if you're mad, you got to be mad. I think the only way for real change to happen is going to be through anger, but the only way for it to stick is going to be if it's met with sort of grace and an open mind and heart, basically.
Yeah,
sure.
No. Yeah, I think like you said, we touched really well on the previous topic, and it's going to be one that continues to go. As for the Dr. Disrespect thing, I have never seen something more vague. I think in my recent years,
it is very jarring. Because the thing that struck me is that anybody that follows closely, the streamer, the Twitch community in general, knows that Doc ran into his problem. I think it was 2 years ago or something like that. There was his whole allegation. There was a cheating scandal that went down, and I don't watch Dr. Disrespect to
I don't
much outside of just some background noise.
Mostly
but,
the memes. He's a big streamer, man. That's just it.
Oh, he's huge.
He's a product of Twitch. This is what Twitch has pushed. This is what
Yeah.
But one other thing. I was just gonna say, the thing that was most jarring to me is that if you there's a clip that went around at the end of his stream of him
that's what I was going to talk about too.
He was murmuring his words, and he drops an F-bomb before he signs off. So it makes you think what really happened here,
dude. It is what you just said. Absolutely. Hold on. Let me just go on, AJ.
No, that's the big one I wanted to talk about right there, because it's you can hear it. You can feel it in the tone that there's something much bigger going on. That's not oh, I'm losing my contract. I'm gonna go sign on with Facebook Gaming or something like that, or this new Google platform that's being rumored right now. It's not. That's not it. You can hear and feel like stress and anger, anxiety in the way he said it, and obviously that's like no matter what, it's a reach on anything because we don't know all the specific details, but like. Yeah, I mean, even people like Slasher, who's normally got the know on everything with a lot of inside sources, is saying himself he can't really speak on what he knows because it might be more than what people are allowed to hear publicly. And we also don't know for sure whether it actually is something that is crime worthy or anything because it's being kept so silent. He's been one of the biggest platforms on Twitch. Easily one of the largest viewerships they have in terms of monetary gain. So the fact that he's just like removed out of nowhere, that's like.
It makes you wonder because it could be a couple things, right? It could be either he's done something really bad sexual because this is the timing that it came out in, and that's a whole thing in itself, or that could also be used as a face towards a bigger issue maybe Twitch had with him individually. Maybe they didn't like something he said. Maybe just something in the content didn't line up with the platform. And if that's the case, that is terrifying. Because that's just more censorship that we've been seeing uniformly. Like, remember, Twitch
it'd be nice if they were consistent. It'd be nice if they were consistent,
so this
considering
is
the fact that there's still people like Alinity on that damn platform.
You're absolutely right, and this is the bigger issue, though. So you have these platforms that'll ban certain things, whether it be just like something like political agenda. Like, there's already been several political things that get removed openly from Facebook, from YouTube, and these are all things. Again, do your own research. Don't take my word for it. Do more research into this stuff. And you'll find it. A lot of this stuff just sort of gets like swept, and then weird things happen because it'd be really easy to paint. Like, look at this guy. Like he's made a career based off like kind of an extreme meme and sort of doing a thing, and it was funny, and that was what works on Twitch, being a funny man and doing things. But the reality is now, they can connect anything they want to him sexually. He has those weird bathroom clips from like wherever that was.
That was.
And the thing is like it's questionable enough to make you question, but it's also mysterious enough to where you need a specific reason for a big ban like that. Because
I wonder, I have a curiosity thought all of a sudden. Has there been any public statements from like Meta, GeoFuel, or anybody else that like sponsors these streams?
So this is the thing. No one knows anything, and this is why the platform mix-up is so unique to me, or not unique. It's so interesting to me. The platform, basically Mixer not being a thing anymore and moving to Facebook Gaming, and then seeing Ninja and Shroud get bought out, and now, they walked away with tens of millions. I think Ninja, they walk away with 30 million a piece on top of what they already made.
It was, I think it was 31 point something flat for Ninja, and then it was around 10.6, I think, for Shroud, if I remember correctly, because they forced Mixer to buy out the contracts because look, in any smart business industry, if you're doing a buyout, you're making the opposer buy out the contract, so you don't have to pay that kind of money out because that's just less you have to drop.
This is the confusing part. The confusing part to me. So the thing is, like, so you have that happen. All the streamers, all of his friends, anyone who's done any kind of collabs with him, no one knows what's happening. Like Tim the Tatman, big name, no idea what's happening. XQC, huge name, doesn't know what's happening. And then you do see this after Doc says that he doesn't know like what happened and everything else. The last few minutes of his stream get really touchy and emotional. You can tell he's visibly upset. So you would think that he knows something's happening. I don't know if he knows that like he's just about to be banned. I don't know if he knows why. I don't know if it's just like, it could be any number of things, but the thing is, it didn't come out because afterward he said he doesn't know why. So then it makes you wonder, I'm like, okay, so is he just sad because he knows he's going offline, or is he just sad because he knows something's about to hit the fan, or is he just sad because he's walking away from a Twitch community that has been his home for a lot of years? He's been a creator on Twitch for a lot of years now.
That's an interesting perspective that I didn't think about when it came to like he might be sad that he's just getting removed from his community. For me, I hear genuine anger, frustration, in either fear or something in the way he says fuck, but like it's still
sounds
like
sad.
It's like the thing is we don't know, and like that ominous type of just no information, like not even disinformation, just none, for such a big community head, especially with everything going on within, like you said, the Twitch community. I mean, even I saw a great exchange being blasted between Ninja XQC and Alinity the other day, which is why I was reminded of her existence, unfortunately. But that's it was just one of those things where it's crazy. Like all the seams are coming undone everywhere. But for Doctor Disrespect, is it even an unseam, or is it just
I have
something else? Like
the thing is I have another theory to this, because I do wonder. There has been all the rumors of the code name, and I'll pull it up on the browser actually. And I've been paying a lot of attention to this as a streamer looking for better places to stream myself. Like, you know, I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel a little bit underwhelmed with what Twitch has to offer and the way the company runs. And like, I've seen that picture of all the open red solo cups at TwitchCon. I've seen what goes on there. That's not a good environment for anyone,
No.
let alone women. So anyways, with that in mind, I do wonder, you know, a lot of these streamers are fed up with a lot of this shit too. Like, and you know, especially a lot of the female ones who have gotten a lot of negative attention on Twitch, because Twitch, you know, think about the foundation of it. You're asking community openly to fund your career, and now giving that community basically feeling like they own you and telling you what you can do. And then that goes well worse on like a primordial level for women than it does for men, but men still have to struggle with it because it doesn't necessarily equate to what you're putting out there getting a worthwhile value to it. It just has to deal with the popularity contest. So with that in mind, a lot of these streamers feeling that, I wonder if this was calculated. And Dr. Disrespect, like, maybe it's like a big PR move, and then there is like another social media platform, because with all the money that Ninja and Shroud just made, you could fund anything you want. You could easily get those creators on your side if you're Ninja or Shroud. If you're coming with a movement based for the community, you could make a significant dent in Twitch. That's about the only thing that could dent Twitch. Twitch being an Amazon company. So I do wonder. I can't rule that out yet, because at first it looked like everyone was just like basically trolling with Brime. It brought to a URL that said debated, and it looked like a big deal. But like, that would just be genius marketing. Think about that, because if Dr. Disrespect is still ironing things out with Twitch, but decided he wanted to leave, this could be such an elaborate PR stunt that forces Twitch to make a decision and saying like, well, he did bad sex things, but like meanwhile that was just things between he and his wife and whatever.
Right.
Like, what would constitute a lifetime and immediate ban, right? Like, what action does that?
Yeah, it's weird. I forget who I was having this conversation with, or if it was here or somewhere else, but like Twitch having like a monopoly over the streaming services, like people have definitely felt a certain way about that. It is a problem. Any sort of a monopoly is bad. You know, it's just not fun. And you know, Mixture going down obviously is not going to do anyone any favors. It would be nice to see something else come around. You know, you've seen these sort of platforms try to, you know, find a way in, you know, whether it be Facebook or Mixer, or, you know, in some cases YouTube and stuff like that as well. But like, it's like you said, Twitch being an Amazon company, they just have a shit ton of money and resources they can dump into this stuff. So.
Yeah, and that's exactly the issue. So now it's just dominant, and now you have Microsoft thrown in the towel entirely, or basically not throwing in the towel, but making a huge deal with Facebook. And you know, and Facebook is already one of those platforms that's openly been censoring things more than anyone. And that's all again, this is all public stuff. Do your own research. You know, that's basically how it goes. But
sure.
The thing is I can't help but to wonder, because, oh man, the one screen I want to show, I'll just show it without me in it. So yeah, like there was this Brime thing that came up, and it's interesting because it caught a lot of traction. Like, this just literally came up out of nowhere and almost had 100,000 followers. The lore behind this on like 4chan and everywhere else where this got discovered is outrageous. It's basically saying this is a big project between Ninja, Shroud, and Dr. Disrespect. And I'm telling you, I really believe if they wanted to, they could make that significant dent, especially with all of this other stuff happening in the news, where you have like the top 1% now billions and trillion, or I forget how many trillions of dollars are richer now. The number is astronomical. And, you know, you think about Twitch being a subsidiary of Amazon, which is like a big part of that. Like, you know, these streamers, if they have enough money, they could do whatever they want. And if they did want to unionize, this is a lot like we're talking about on our little Smash microcosm. If people want to work together and create something different, that's possible. And a move like this is massive. That's like a God mode move if you're Ninja, or if you're Shroud, or Dr. Disrespect. You're literally taking over the whole thing. And you deserve it too, because think about it. The content creators are making the platform. At least the way Twitch runs the platform, the content creators themselves are the people bringing value to it. They're what people come for. So if those content creators want to go and create their own thing, they can do that, you know, and they could do it together if they wanted. You're going to have people that stay on Twitch, and Twitch isn't going to go away forever, but they can make that significant, you know, hit to it to at least give people, you know, somewhere out. Like, the reality is there needs to be another streaming platform Facebook is not good for a lot of reasons, and like I said, it harps into a lot of the bigger problems even more than Twitch does. So it's a really a matter of, I guess, perspective on that. But I see. I want to hope that maybe that's possible.
Sure. And, Twitch is obviously, a big part of how a lot of this all stemmed, was all these streamers coming forward with, various, staff members of Twitch, other people that, other personalities that they've met, at all these conventions. And Twitch, took a stand and, banned a lot of accounts, last week. And again, I applaud these victims that have stepped forward. Some of them are my friends who have shared their experiences, and they're incredibly brave. And again, you can, the whole like big theme of everything that's been going on the last few months, like Ajax was saying earlier, is that change. And in order for change to happen, things have to get ugly. So
they do.
These last few days have felt like weeks. It's been very exhausting. On top of the fact that there's still an ongoing pandemic happening, states are spiking with COVID still. Thankfully for the most part, things are okay. In our neck of the woods, thank God. If you live in an area that is being affected, by surging cases of coronavirus, then, I hope you're staying safe and you're washing your hands and you're wearing a mask when you go outside. Don't be that guy. So, it's been exhausting, but it is nice to have this platform. We're approaching on 2 years of doing this podcast.
Yeah,
and
wow.
It's very strange. So I just want to say, if you've been with us for these last 2 years, however long it's been, we appreciate you guys. These conversations are not fun to have. Nobody wants to have these conversations. Like we said, last week was a big news week for Smash stuff. We had, and we haven't even touched on that. I guess we can talk about that we can talk about it near the tail end. But I just want to say, thank you guys for listening, and we hope that we're able to provide some semblance of comfort, of respite, and give you guys the building blocks to how you can help the community change and grow from this for the better. So that I can take my nephew to Smash events, I can take my girlfriend to Smash events, and not have to worry about God forbid something terrible happening to them. And I hope that you, like Chris said, you guys do your own thinking, your own research on how you can help better the community.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was well said. So we've alluded to it a little bit, or I mentioned it, but so Facebook Gaming now officially merges with Mixer, aka Microsoft and Facebook in bed together, which means a lot because those are about as massive as companies as you could get as far as reach goes. And then you could expect to see Xbox now very well integrated with Facebook, and then Facebook has the money to basically buy out content creators, and they're going to do that. The reason Microsoft failed on that is because this is the problem. Microsoft will make a good product, but they fail in everything else, and mostly because it's just like a big soulless corporation. Head of it is kind of busy with doing a lot of other bigger things, head of it being Bill Gates. So the company, in my mind, kind of has a lack of direction, even though it has the reach. And I'm looking at that now combined with Facebook. And I already said, basically, I think that they sort of feed on one another in terms of just perpetuating some of the bad things that basically has made, Twitch, even as a streaming platform, go south. But this is the future we're looking at. So, if you're someone like me, where you're a content creator looking for a streaming platform that's going to help basically promote gaming communities and not just individualized gamers, this is kind of a strike against that. And that's why, I guess, for me, I'm very into the theories of, maybe I'm just being really optimistic, but I'm more convinced now more than ever that there is such a need for a newer platform that is neither, Microsoft affiliated, Facebook affiliated, or Twitch affiliated, but is really more for the creator, by the creator. And the thing is that need was confirmed for me when I saw the Brime account made. Sure. Whether it be real or not, the reality is this many people wanted to believe the same thing as I did and say, yeah, we need something better. The current platforms are bad, especially in light of all the non-transparent things going on and the very clear censorships and the very clear letting one. Because, think about it, man. You could be Facebook or Twitch, and you could ban any sort of political opinion or any sort of pro-Trump or anti-Democrat stuff, but you're not going to censor someone throwing their cat or something related to like incest porn, like anything that's really bad that are really brainwashing people. We're just going to let all of these things go and then ban that. Like, that's a bad precedent. And if we're looking at two streaming platforms where streaming is supposed to be, internet is... It's a utility, man, and it's at this point, with the way society is, it's a human right. And now we're looking at two platforms on one of the most cutting edge technology, or one of the cutting edge like ways to create content in streaming, now being dictated by, some of the worst moral compasses ever. And then like something like Twitch, it started community based. It got bought out, and then it would just, I don't think it was organized enough to fix all that. And then it kind of got lost in the way the website works. Like
the original days of, what was it, Justin TV?
Yeah, Justin.tv. Like when it was just people watching video games with their boys.
Whew, that brought me back. Sheesh.
Yeah, man. And then now it's sort of evolved into a lot of this shit. So all I'm going to say basically about Facebook gaming and Mixer is to keep your eye out. Keep your eye out on where the content creators go. Keep your eye out on what platform is promising and what. Keep your eye out if you have like Ninja and Shroud, who are now worth a lot of money. If they want to make their own platform, like that would be incredible. I don't know if it's gonna happen. But
with every monopoly, a new kid will always come onto the block. And I think you said it perfectly. I think with everything going on, with the fact that they've been inconsistent with their ability to actually adhere to their own terms of service a lot of times, and let alone really kind of step back from the creator friendly aspect to more of a centric idea around what's the maximum profit we could gain and how can we push this initiative as best as we can. And that if that involves ignoring people who are blatantly just being terrible, like spitting vodka into their cats, I will never let this one go. I cannot understand how how she's still on there. But like it's like, just if we can get some kind of platform to challenge the monopoly, and now all of a sudden get them to hold accountability, because like we said before, the best way, not in this one, but like when it comes to other topics, the best way to always attack any company or to get people to pay attention is to attack the pockets. And once you start getting the pockets noticeably changed, that's when change happens, whether it be for the positive or the negative. And the only way you get companies, big monopolized companies like Amazon, to move at all is you got to make them hurt where their pockets are. And that's the only way these things change.
Yeah. I love the way you said that. That's all I'm gonna say. It's true.
Yeah, it's the truth.
Dollar. This is.
It's the truth. You got to get them with the dollar. It's the same thing when it came to
your time. I just want to throw that one in there. The dollar is time and attention. Time and attention, I consider the same thing, because if you're spending time on something, it's got your attention. You know what I mean? So
you should always value your time in terms of hourly pay. That's the way I look at it. Like before, I used to waste a lot of my own time, and now I look at it in ways as like, whenever I'm not in my own ruts, because I get in them, but we all get in them. But when I'm trying to think positively, it's like, okay, did I do anything positive with these last 2 hours? Or did I waste like a solid $40, $50 worth of my own time and try to put it into monetary value? Same thing happens with these companies. Once you start making them realize, oh shit, people are doing things because they're not happy with us. What do we do to change that? First, you see the blatant PR moves, which are just useless, kind of like naming a sub bacon, lettuce, tomato motto. I'm sorry, Jersey Mike. Is that you?
That is so
you?
weird.
But yeah, that's bad.
But like, it's not what we're fucking fighting for, by the way. But like, it's also like just when it comes to Twitch and the loss of Facebook and Mixer, like, yeah, I'm glad you pulled it up so quick.
Yeah, I was ready for this.
I feel like you're already prepped for me. What a useless freaking.
Speaking of bad platforms.
What a useless freaking motive. Yeah, and yet now, you know what's crazy? Speaking on all the sexual assault allegations and stuff, how we've seen multiple police corporations say that sexual assault cases will drop if we have to defund stuff. Yeah, let's go ahead and threaten the ability to have people speak up. And we wonder why it's so hard for people to speak up about this damn shit.
There is a lot going on right now. A lot going on. And these topics we've been talking about today, this is literally the surface, man. And we've now come around from having it very close to us in a smaller community to then that smaller community just being a little tiny echo of something in Twitch to then that problem on Twitch being a larger echo to just censorship and media in general. Like, we're at a time of very big political turmoil. We're at a time of a lot of just change, and we're seeing it everywhere. Like even all these sexual allegations happening within the community, to bring it full circle. This is stuff happening like within politics and government and stuff that's still being fact found as it is, but is looking likely to come out. And without giving any detail, because again, detail doesn't matter, realizing that change is happening everywhere at every level is really what I'm getting at. Like, it's happening everywhere, and it's happening in every form. And the more you just push for truth, and the more you push for transparent information, and the more you push for just better things, and the more you push yourself to be better, because if you're pushing yourself to be better, then you're part of the solution.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. And I've seen a lot of people, this last month or so, whether it be with, taking these sexual assault allegations very seriously, whether it be, promoting the cause of, police brutality, or not the cause of police brutality, but, bringing it all to light and, being part of the movement. A lot of people have been using their platforms, very bravely. And, and we obviously appreciate that. It's hard to just stick to video games as everybody wants us to do, or that one CNN commentator who's awful. I think she said a LeBron James shut up and dribble at one point.
Oh God!
Yeah,
I like to drown her
too.
existence out of my memory.
Yeah.
She's she's a racist through and through. There's nothing else to say about her.
Worst take.
So using again, just to bring it all back to what we said before. If you want to make the scene a better place, it's it starts with you. If somebody comes to you with a serious allegation of somebody that has wronged them, you listen to them. You let them know that it's not their fault, and you bring it to the proper powers and such like that. Whether it be your local TO, or in some cases or the police and stuff like that. You bring it to some sort of an authoritative figure. Because
it's
the thing that sucks the most is that the chain of information is what gets lost in a lot of this. So it starts with you. Hold your friends accountable when they say dumb shit. That's a huge thing too. So it's big accountability, time. Empathy, and listening to these victims when they come forward. Believe victims, listen to victims,
but innocent until proven guilty as well. And this is why, and you already mentioned it, it's on our own to keep check of our people. Everyone's got to keep check of their people, keep it honest, keep it 100, however you want to slang. Because the reality is this. If there's a problem, we have a forum now where everything is public, like Twitter, and everything gets outed, and I think that's good, but I also think it's bad. Because you get a lot of validation from places, even if it's not founded or good. It's just like, make me feel better for having an opinion without actually showing anything. And that there's a lot of that mixed in with some very real issues and problems that do need to be addressed. So, basically being able to tell the difference between that and, deciphering that, follow the close group of friends who are doing that for you. Because the only people who are really going to know what actually happened, if it is going to be on blast, are going to be the people that associated with anyone guilty or allegedly guilty of some bad actions, because those are the people that are going to kind of lead you to the real answer, as to where you can make then educated takes and then decide where even just you as an individual can move forward in terms of supporting them or not supporting them, or just doing something else entirely, which is what I would recommend.
Yeah, I agree. Again, it all just falls back into listening. As long as you just make sure that if somebody comes to you with these sort of things, do not let it fall on deaf ears.
One thing, when I was listening to the Blastone podcast earlier, because I wanted to hear the perspective very importantly, one thing that Coney said that was very important, that they all kind of touched on, is that at the end of the day, all these figureheads or all these idols that people keep making them these players out to be, or these Twitch streamers out to be, they're gamers. They're people. They're still people who need to be held accountable. And it's not like there's some superstar celebrity who gets a veil of protection for having a fandom. Clout is just a facade for people to be able to do bad things in some cases, and then there's other people who will just constantly bash someone for coming out because they think that they're clout chasing, and it's not the case. these are still people, and these people need to be held accountable. And also, when you're listening to the opinions of others, don't take all words as bond. Like if TK says that he's hurting after what he just saw, let the man grieve for a second, because it's somebody he knew that he cared about. If you see other people affected by these things, let them take a moment, because they need to recoup and understand what just happened, because this shit sucks. And this is all stuff that we have to be aware of, and remember that we need to take the time to heal post this stuff too, because this isn't easy. But also don't forget that these other people who we constantly try to pretend are doing nothing wrong in these situations, and then they get ignored, and then all of a sudden it comes out that it was true. They're just gamers. They're people. They're the people just like me and you. It doesn't change a single thing whether they have 100,000 followers or they have one. It doesn't. That is just a number that is irrelevant to the actions of people who are misbehaving and mistreating others. That means shit. So make sure that like Koopa said, you reach out to those people you can, and hopefully they listen. And if they don't, reach out to someone else, and keep reaching out until we get these people held accountable.
Yeah, and just one last point on that. God, it's been exhausting, and this is advice for myself as well. You know, with everything going on, you know, like we've been encompassing, it's incredibly overwhelming the amount of information you can take in at once. Like Chris said earlier, an hour from now things could be different. 10 minutes from now things could be different. So if you're if being in quarantine doesn't help either, you know, I find myself glued to my screen a lot more than I usually do. So take those breaks if you need to.
Just take those breaks, not even if you need to, because you might not think you need to.
Yeah, because like I understand, you know, I'm somebody that like I'm a go-getter. I'm an activist. I want to do what's best for my scene and my friends and my people around me. But I know that I'm just one cog in the machine, and you know, these last 2 days it's been impossible for me to focus on anything, because I'm just trying to think of what I can do to help the cause. And sometimes you have to remember to take those steps away, because it wasn't until like, I don't know, 2 hours ago I realized that I haven't eaten anything today. So
that's part of the sinkhole that is the Smash Twitter drama, and not even just Smash Twitter drama, the bigger drama. It's enough, and your emotions, those things that get drained, that's why you lose your appetite. That's why you feel just constantly tired, because the stuff drags you in, because it's very real issues. So with that, if you do find yourself being dragged in a lot, or like it's affecting you, you have to just get off the app for a bit. The information is only going to be more clear with time. So getting the cutting information, the stuff happening immediately, it's not that important, man. Like, I actually stayed off of Twitter the entire day yesterday until later, and then I saw everything. And even had someone tweet at me too, but we don't have to talk about that, because that was about something so totally entirely differently. But I'm not going to lie, it riled me up. And the reason it riled me up is because I do care, and the reason I care, especially about this particular case, is because, like I said, it's a secondary problem of the larger problem that we're seeing now. In terms of having safe events, how many events are happening in one place, and you know, and this is something I feel like it's a little tone deaf for today's episode, so I'm not going to do it. But like, yeah, there's a lot bigger problems that are a detriment to progress at this point. And I think that like once we root those problems out, then we could get a little, a little bit more on the same page and figure out how to move together. But I think just sort of establishing who's who and what's where, and sort of draining the swamp, as they say, on the larger term of this thing is it's important, man, and it really matters.
I agree.
I think we touched on this very well tonight. I will say that. I'm glad that we decided to still speak on this, even as uncomfortable as this can be for all of us. We again, like something I like to preach is that silence is the ally of fear, and we can't remain silent. So I'm glad. Once again, I'm glad that even though I can't usually articulate very well and set like however many characters on a Twitter post, I'm able to speak freely here, and hopefully somebody will hear this message and will change due to things that we've said. In any way, shape, or form, and I'm hoping things continue to improve.
I gotta tell you, Koopa, I don't mean to cut you off. I just really, I really want to drive this point forward. The content you guys interact with, that your time you spend on it, the attention you pay towards good things or bad things, that stuff adds up. So like, even if this podcast vibes with you, share that stuff. And I'm not just saying that. I'm saying that, one, as someone who wants their content to grow and their platform to grow. Two, as someone who is literally, like, I don't know, and I said this at the beginning of the episode, we're basically trying to reframe some of this because it's really easy to sink in it, as we were just talking about. It's really easy to get glued to the screen, waiting for the next thing to come through, having an opinion, and then figuring out who in the group needs to go away, or whatever uncomfortable thing needs to happen. But the reality is that stuff is going to work itself out, Twitter, no Twitter, and it's out now. It's not going to go back in. And the only way to really move forward is to not dwell on the he said, she said, or the specific things. It's mostly just
how can we get to that better place?
Yeah, getting to the better place is a matter of, again, keeping yourself good, keeping yourself healthy, eating, sleeping, away from screens for a bit, immersing in things that are good for you, whether it be another video game or even Smash itself, or being like a book. I know books are kind of foreign for a lot of us in this community, myself included, but they are good, can be good. But the thing is there's other ways to spend your time. And the thing is, until all the dust settles from all this mess, any kind of echoes you're going to have is just going to expand the chamber and just sort of make everyone in this lower vibration for longer, if you're into that kind of thing. But if you're sort of in the way of being mindful of, okay, so how do we, who are the people that we do look for in the community? Where are the places that we do go to get things better? Like, and those people, if they're actively working on it, be open to that. Don't just wait for the next thing to fail. You could already be working on the solutions, because there are already a lot of people who are, and I'm saying this, and I feel like I'm sort of talking about myself, but not really, not just that. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of us out there that care a lot about the community and have put a lot of stuff in this community. Even you guys in this call with me now, how many events have you casted with almost no money, or going above and beyond to make something happen, or doing favors? And then it sort of just gets blended into like, oh, the Smash community. But in reality, no, that's our community. Like there's some of us working really hard to make things happen. And just because there's only certain channels that get attention, or certain personalities, or egos, or Twitter accounts that get attention, that doesn't mean that we can't just like figure this out on our own. Just promote the good people too. Promote good people. Don't just sink into knocking down bad people as much as they need to be knocked down, because they do. But don't worry, man. Like that stuff, that's karma, dude. Everything comes back. Everything comes around, and that's why this is happening in the first place, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. And we know that this subject material was very heavy. We understand that if this is it's hard stuff to all take in at once. So like you said, obviously take your time with it. Content warning and such as that. We should have done that at the top. So that's apologies on that part. But
it shouldn't be a surprise. I know there might be some people that don't use Twitter that are just going to be like, "What is all this?" And that's fine. Like I said, do your own research.
For sure.
All the stuff is on Twitter. Literally follow any big Smash Twitter personality for what if you want, and you'll see that's your gateway into all of this. This stuff is trending in the larger part of Twitter too, not just our little section of it. So
now, just as a quick programming note, we've been going for about an hour. I personally feel like it'd be kind of inappropriate to talk about like the Smash stuff now. I'd rather,
or we could wait.
Well, so we'll do a next week. I think
we bring it up next week.
Yeah, I think next week we can deep dive into that stuff. We'll have a little bit more time to to chew on what's come out, and
maybe by then we'll be focused on moving forward and ways to do that, because that's very possible too. Maybe by next week, anything could have happened where we're now paying attention to even online events, because I think it's crazy, because a lot of the conversation that came up recently has been about banning this person or that person, or unbanning this person or that person from events. Meanwhile, there's no events on the schedule right now. Why are we even talking about that? So
for sure.
There's a lot of interesting things and conversation being thrown in certain ways. So maybe there's a way that we could focus on making the events that we have currently, or the system and the community we have currently, work a little better in ways that don't just react to the problems, but work towards the solutions.
And mostly I'm just trying to blue ball AJ from talking about Ike for one more week.
Oh my God, you have a cheater character now.
Oh, you have no idea.
Ether is so broken, dude.
AJ, teach me the secrets.
Teach you the secrets. All right, ready? You're gonna press jump, and then you're gonna hold down, and then you're gonna press the big green button, right? And then you're gonna jump again, and then you're gonna hit the up and the blue and the red button, and then people just explode. and they do it all the time now. Like, not a little bit. And if they sneeze on your shield, they explode again, and then you make them explode one more time, and then you win, and you use your big brain. It's
Somebody
wonderful.
at Nintendo definitely bought Path of Radiance on eBay.
I'm telling you right now, man. Look, I was saying before I wanted to rework on the Ike's moveset, and this isn't exactly what I asked for, but it's not exactly something I'm gonna say I'm not gonna take.
Yeah, you take it all the way to the bank.
I'm gonna take this whole 8.0 for a ride until they neuter the hell out of that move, because there's no way that stays the same. And if there is, thank you, Nintendo. I appreciate you, and please give me DLC skins.
Listen,
anyways, so
I think they're listening more than you think, and I think that there's a bright future in all this, to be honest with you. I think that there's a lot of stuff that can come from this. I just, like I said, night's always darkest before dawn, and there is some really ugly things that come out at night. And the thing is those things have been happening a while now, so I think there's some degree of gratitude we can all have that some of this is finally being approached, no matter how it's taken or delivered. It's just, it's due time. So
agreed.
That's a win on some ends.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But so yeah, that's gonna cover this week's episode. Again, this was hard to talk about, but it was something that needed to be talked about. And again, I just hope that, like, just, tomorrow's another day, and it's one step in the right direction, hopefully, as we can, all move forward from this.
We'll get through this.
Yeah, absolutely. But for this, on the social media side of things, you can follow me on Twitter at KoopaNJ. I'm probably going to be taking a Twitter hiatus for a bit, just because it's been a long week, and it's only Wednesday.
Yeah, yeah,
time. It's been hard, but you can. Chris, where can the lovely people find you?
Find me at Chriselodian. I'm very much a truth seeker. I'm very much a free thinker. In fact, I even put that in my Twitter bio because I think that describes me. And I've always been a little reluctant to just say, like, yeah, I'm in Smash community and this is the role I do, because I think that there is a lot of leadership issues, and that's kind of why things happen. And I think that's why I do a lot of what I do. And I wouldn't be traditionally considered a leader on like a social media platform, but I do have a lot of opinions and I have a lot of perspective, and I've been pretty much in every position in this community that you could imagine, since I started like 4 years ago. So with that in mind, I've met a lot of people and been a lot of places. I haven't been following the direct allegations because I don't think they really matter that much. So you won't really see much of that stuff on my Twitter, which is at Chriselodian, but you will see me kind of seeking for truth and pushing for change. And I hope that's a trend that kind of happens a little bit more. And I don't expect it to now, because I think a lot of people are still dealing with a lot of bad things, and that's going to take forefront, and it should take forefront. But when everybody's ready and everybody wants to, I don't know, man, I'm ready to move forward, and I just want to work with anyone who else does. And if you're a viewer who just wants good Smash content, I'm also trying to work with you too. So and other content. So with that in mind, definitely also keep it to the Master Hand Gaming channels. You see it on the screen, like, follow, subscribe. Let the algorithm know if this is good content or not. I got really good feedback from last week. I started sharing clips, so I'm going to try and do that some more. I don't mean to flood you guys, but I also think I just want to start spreading better ideas in general, and that's why I like this podcast a lot, because I think it gives us all an opportunity to do that. So with that in mind, make sure you follow the Twitters and all that, and again, share it if you like it, and if you don't, appreciate you checking it out. But Ajax, go ahead, man.
No, I'm actually I'm completely okay with you doing the clips. I think we had talked about that a couple weeks ago, and
yeah,
I'm glad that it's
I'm
glad the reception is working out very well, because people always interact more often when they see media attached to a post, especially for something like this. We preach the messages because we want them to be heard, because we're hoping that somebody will get you changed. As for me, everything is always the same now. It is at Ajax_HQ. That is for my Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitch as well. So make sure you go ahead and follow all those. If you haven't already, subscribe to everything that's Master Hand. Also, if you can, come through and give me some love. But if you don't, it's all good, because I will be seeing you here weekly, of course. So it's no big deal. I will see you at another time. Doesn't matter to me where it happens to be. Yeah. And I'm glad that there's more people continuing looking at this podcast regularly, because I feel like we have a lot of good things to say, and not exactly the largest platforms to say it, but as long as we change at least one out of every 100 people, you already know my game plan when I do anything casting wise. Same here. Hopefully somebody gets something that educates them in a way that they didn't before.
Making the waves. Yeah, and you know what, man? I know the main outlets. Other thing is I'm gonna be very real, like with the numbers. These podcasts, a good podcast will hit about 100 views. Definitely not knocking the world over. You know, like you have other like Smash specific podcasts, 2,000, 3,000 viewers, and that's all well and good. But you know, we set out to do something a little different with this podcast, and I do think it's been growing, and I do think people are gravitating towards it. And if you are, feel free to talk to us direct about it, man. I always love getting feedback, for better, for worse. I've gotten some negative feedback recently, and I like it because it makes me really reevaluate what I'm doing too. How am I coming off? How am I presenting? And I think there's always room for improvement for me with that. So whether you have good things to say, bad things to say, just say them, man. We're just trying to get people talking. But yeah, guys, thank you as always. And I guess we'll see you on the next episode, right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. See you guys next week.
See ya.